you tired of the daily hustle and bustle, the endless traffic just to get your little one to a good school? GMS Snap Bingo offers a unique blend of academic excellence with a holistic child development in both nursery and primary. We provide a national curriculum with an international touch. Enroll your child today by visiting our campus along Trinity College, Dhakaba Road. GMS Snap Bingo, where every child's potential is a reality. Because we care.
Welcome. This is Second Take with IDK, someone who does know something about sport, bold opinions and big games. My name is Mabel Kebirungi with the awesome privilege of coming to you today from Grey Residences. We are here, Mamerito Road, in the heart of Chira, which is towards the east of Kampala. A beautiful place, your own kitchen, your room, if you want a workplace getaway or a family staycation, as they say sometimes, this place is for you. So Isma Dhakaba Kigongo, good to see you. Isma Dhakaba Kigongo. We had our debut last week and the reception, I must say, has been good. What are people telling you?
Some thrilled. Okay, most of them thrilled. Sometimes I'm flattered with some of the comments that people make. Sometimes people go overboard when they like something you've said or when they're enjoying the show. But it's a privilege. It's a privilege to be in my position when you can say something. So many times I'm glad there's actually one who I liked who I like sometimes to take the criticism because when you get too many flowers, you might get complacent. One told me that the location we used was not very good because the sun, I think, came into our faces eventually, especially my face because our skin complexions are quite different. One said the lighting was not great. And one of them is one I would respect, our friend Moses Echodo of Radio 1, he said he would rather maybe we shot in studio something. But Moses, that is coming. First of all, I'm glad you watched the show. Yeah, he was talking about the lighting and he also told me we should shoot in the morning because he says at that time the sun is very stable and not towards midday. Yeah, so there were a bit of those. And I enjoyed a lot of the feedback, but maybe this place is beautiful. It is beautiful. It makes you want to take your family somewhere because while you can see the entire place, like Mabel has mentioned, Grey Residences is worth your penny.
It is indeed. This is Second Take with IDK. If you haven't yet, please subscribe, like, and share because there are some deep opinions on this show. And we'll start today by talking about the Uganda Premier League. We know they've taken a bit of a break now, but the transfers seem to be a bit slow in coming. Yeah, so why does Uganda seem to do things differently?
It was actually very funny. And I'm supposed to sit in a place of privilege where I would be knowing what is happening. But even I got to learn, I think, last week, while I was away in Morocco during the Africa Cup of Nations, FIFA actually sent out a communication telling clubs, or like they call them stakeholders, that the transfer window in Uganda would open on February 1st and close on March 2nd. So at the weekend, I was on KFM Sport with Gistin and Elvis. So Elvis mentioned something that when the transfer window opens, then I'm like, are you kidding? Because the transfer window has always been in synergy with Europe. And the European transfer window closes on February 2nd at midnight. And that was done there was an extension because normally it would close on January 31st. But because of what has happened with the FIFA Club World Cup, there's been changes on the calendar. And that's how eventually the transfer window ended up the way it did. And it's going to close on February 2nd. Now, in the case of Uganda, FIFA, because of the national team engagements that we've had, we lost time in terms of the local transfer window because of the CHAN that we hosted last year alongside Kenya and Tanzania. The games we enjoyed at Nambole, full stadium. Then, eventually, there was a break in the league when the players were in Morocco for the Africa Cup of Nations. So, there is several weeks that is gone that did not allow players or clubs to make transfers. So, in FIFA's wisdom, they decided to shift from the usual January 1st to January 31st to February 1st to March 2nd. That's eventually why the window is the way it is. So you've not seen clubs moving already in January while the league is ongoing, and wouldn't make a lot of sense in our setup to have a player play for two clubs within the same first round of the window.
Yeah.
You understand? Yeah, because teams have only finished their first 15 games, with the exception of the two, Kitara and Vipers, who still have that one game that FIFA has not yet made a decision. And I'd actually beg FIFA to make a decision.
I know, how can we get to this point and we don't know what will happen? And
you know, these things used to happen in Ugandan football way back, 10, 20 years ago. Then, one of the things I gave FIFA a lot of credit for, in the recent years, they've made decisions very quickly, and that enables everyone to go on, because this threatens the integrity of the league.
Exactly.
Yeah, because if you do not make a decision early, when you make it at a time when it affects so many others, say you make this decision with 1-2 games at the end of the season, there is a bit of a crisis. You've thrown the league into a crisis. And I've given this FIFA a lot of credit on that. There's been cases previous when, for example, there used to be that midfielder, Sulaiman Majanjalo, who used to play for UPDF. He got a yellow card and another, and he's sent off, and he's supposed to miss the subsequent 2 games, and this club, which was UPDF at the time, misinterpret that, and they think the 2 games include the game where he was sent off, yet the 2 games are the ones that come thereafter. So he misses 1 game and comes back, and they have to suspend him. There was an incident 2 years ago involving Wakiso and Villa, when Villa fans allegedly, because Uganda does not even have fans you can point out in terms of registration and all, they fought in a game. They are spectators, fought at Nwankulukuku, and then the game wasn't finished, so they had to come back and then make a decision. Sometimes you're better off making the decision early so that it's forgotten after 10 games. If you make it towards the end of the season, then you're in big crisis. Because, for example, the rules are clear. While there was a fight in the boardroom about the new format and old format, the rules are clear. If Kitara had missed the game and they were the home team, they would lose 6 points. Now, in the case, 6 of the points that they have. Now, in the case of Vipers, who are the away team at Nambol on the day, then they forfeit those points and then lose a further 3 points.
But they had written in advance saying they were not going to be there.
And FIFA had written back and said they have to be there. That as per the, remember, the communication of FIFA just reminded them that the fixture of the venue and the time. So I'd rather you make a decision, because sometimes what hurts me the most is that we are supposed to come to these forums, and I'm one of those who has been going to the stadium for a large part of 30 years. Our main task is to promote the league, because I'd love to see Ugandan football take the next step for all its challenge, for all its impurities. But when you have to come to a program like this, a show like this, and all you have to do is to discuss what has not gone right, I think UPL and FIFA and the clubs owe it to themselves to dump this. We are supposed to be here and discuss Karim Watambala's goals. We're supposed to discuss how Entebbe UPPC picked a result at KCCA, a game where I thought they had the better chances. Foster, Charles Lukwa going to 2 good saves. The crisis on the pitch at KCCA. Why Villa failed to beat Lugazi to finish the first round. I think those are supposed to be the topics. Now, when you don't do the other things right, we're still discussing the basics of the game. Now you've got, if you're a leader and you're the administrators of the game, disarm us. Make the decision, we'll discuss it for 2-3 days, then return to the brilliance of the teams on the pitch.
You know, I must say, and I think I'll give credit to CAF, because they really, first of all, they suspended the chair of the disciplinary committee because he was Senegalese. This is now in reference to the Morocco-Senegalese final that we talked about last week. But they got rid, or they asked him to step away. And they put out their disciplinary measures that, may have been tough or not so tough, depending on which side you're on.
I thought they were tough enough. But maybe kind on the Senegalese coach. I thought you could get off worse than
you wanted him to pay more money?
No, not more money, but I feared that the suspension he was going to get, the 5 matches, would stretch into FIFA games, which would mean missing
World
games at the
Cup.
World Cup. Yeah. Okay,
Ah,
you could go on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but I thought that they did it very fast when it's still hot, when people are still talking about it.
Yeah.
And then we have FIFA that is really taking their time.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe you could talk to them since I'm sure you have their
You're the one
phone
who started.
number.
You're the one who studied Famako.
Yes, I'm a graduate
Of,
Famako level 1.
Level 1. You need to go and do level 2.
I don't know,
is it?
level 2, they're yet to talk about it. But yeah.
But
Anyway.
You need to practice it, because I've seen one of the rules. One of the rules to go to the next level is that you need to be in football administration. So it would help you right now to go and volunteer at a club. Yeah?
Oh, wow.
I think in the Premier League or the big league, you volunteer at a club of your convenience, the one closest to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then the one where you won't lose money, yeah, because you won't be paid for it. Then you can be eligible for level 2. Yeah, because it's largely for people who are already in football management. The same thing with coaching.
Yeah.
My colleague here,
sense.
Brandon Chimuli,
Yes.
went and did the FUFA beginners course in coaching. He used to coach our team, Sona, plays on the Sunday at around 5:30 p.m. That's when the games start towards 6. And our games always have goals. Yeah, we cannot go into a game that does not have at least 5 or 6 goals.
Hey.
So he did a beginners course, but for him to be eligible for what would be license D, which I think is the lowest currently, he needs to get into coaching. And I actually told him at some point he needs to go and volunteer at a school, yeah, closest to him, and be part of that. Work under coach, maybe arrange the cons. Then he's seen to be trying to develop as a coach, but he hasn't been able to do that. So if he chooses to go back into coaching, then he has to go and redo the beginners, then be eligible again. It's the same thing with you.
Okay, well, we are here in Chira, and this is also my area code. And I know Chira does have a team.
Yeah.
So
Chira Young, and then Chira United.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think I can start from there, start at home. But still keeping it local. Rogers Mato and Alan Okello, when I hear those names, dollar signs come into my eyes. I just say, wow, all that money that they have made. How is it benefiting Ugandan football, those transfers?
In our kind of setup, we need every penny. When they say players come from humble backgrounds, they mean Ugandans come from humble backgrounds. Many of us do. But it's the nature of our economy and our setup. There are not so many people with the privilege. And there are hardly any people born with a spoon in their mouths in our country, with the exception maybe of the royals.
Yeah.
But how many royals do we have in actual sense in Uganda? So when you look at that, and I like the fact that you see the money, that will be very easy for everyone to interpret how much money they are going to earn and that kind of thing. I was reading one of the local websites, and there was a revelation that, let's start with Alan Okello.
Yeah.
Probably the most popular player in Ugandan football today. Maybe not at par with David Obu and Ibrahim Sekaja at their peak and Dennis Onyango, but the most popular. I remember the time when he first came on for a game for the Uganda Cranes, Uganda against Malawi, and Nambole went wild for him. That's how much he's loved. The fans can relate with him. The fans love him.
He's likable.
He's very likable when he gives an interview. And hopefully Alan Okello will watch the show and give us some flowers wherever he is in Tanzania. So there is something about Alan Okello that is very likable. That is the first thing that many people around the game of football wish him well.
Yeah.
Right from his story, how he comes out of Lira and then goes to Chivuli SS and plays for KCCA, and the goals he scored there. Leaves KCCA, goes to Paradu, and we are all wishing him well at Paradu. That did not turn out well. Luckily, the club got a bit of money for it because that deal had in excess of $200,000 when he moved to Algeria back then. Doesn't work out, comes back to KCCA, gets injured, doesn't play. Vipers signed him at a time when his contract at KCCA was up, and he felt like his career was gone. So he goes to Vipers, does very well, considerably well. A resurgence of sorts, because he spent there 2 years, because he joined I think he joined mid-season. And eventually lifts himself to get back to a level where the world is watching him again, and signs for one of the biggest clubs in the region. But that club is not only one of the biggest in the region, it's also doing very well on the African continent. They compete in the Confederations Cup and Champions League and go to the later stages, and he joins Yanga. But the point I picked out when you talk about the money is I saw a story that is going to be earning 54 million shillings a month. Now, today's debates around sport center around money, but I don't think that is the issue, because that's for his family, to improve his family and his community. If he chooses a charity of his choice and gives it $1 million a week,
well and good.
well and good. If he doesn't, eventually it's his choice. This is a young boy now in his mid-20s. I think it's a career renaissance for him. Not that he's got back to the level where many of us expected. Because when he first came through KCCA, there were reports of him moving to Switzerland. There were reports of him joining Ajax, the development site, which is Young Ajax, I think, in the Netherlands. None of that stuff materialized. He's ended up at a place where he'll be comfortable. The challenge for me is for him to stay there very long. Yeah, if he plays 4-5 years at Yanga, he'll be better for it. Ugandan football will be better for it, because, like I mentioned, he's going to be competing in the Champions League. Currently, they are playing in the Champions League. They lost to Al Ahly the previous week 2-0, and they drew 1-1 in the second leg. They are still in a very precarious situation where they need to fight so hard to get into the quarterfinals again. Because that group, I wanted to remember all the other teams in that group, but more importantly, he's playing at a high level. That benefits Uganda.
Yeah.
Financially, he's better. And in Uganda, when you're better, your family is better. There's a lot of people around you who benefit from it.
Yeah.
In literal sense, buli mugaga tabulako balebeesi. Yeah. You'll find people walking to stadiums with a bit of a gang. I've seen it with so many of our footballers and musicians. So inevitably, Alan Okello is a better person for it. And that's what we wish for him as an individual. If eventually Yanga do well, and that translates into Uganda Cranes, then we are all better for it. So you have to wish him well. First of all, that's what many Ugandans would like him to do well. He hasn't hit the heights that his career promised. But sometimes when you aim for the stars, you land amongst the clouds. At least he's not in a worse place than he would have been. This should be his peak years. Yeah. His peak years in terms of football, his peak years in terms of what goes home. And I think that is very important. The start hasn't been too bad. I think he's played in 4 games. He yet to score, which is very important at a club like Yanga. But he's been involved in some good things. He scored 6 goals the other week. And when I didn't watch the game, so I first read the story. And the writer said he shot, the goal was scored off a rebound of a shot taken by Alan Okello. Because you must find an angle that makes a Ugandan interested in reading your story. So that is a good thing for him. And in terms of business, of course, for Vipers. The other one is one that should excite me the most. And actually, the other week, I think I made a mistake on the show. We had mentioned that the Scottish Premiership is a top 10 league in Europe. It actually isn't. It's the 18th ranked league in Europe. But clearly, it's a higher level than we are. To come from North Macedonia, from Vada, to Hearts, a team that is competing for the league title, for Rogers Mato, that's a big step up. And we're talking about a player who at every stage in a football career is improving in terms of the level he's playing. Because some first watched him play at Lueza. Unfortunately, I didn't see him at Lueza that period. I first saw him at Proline. Then KCCA, then from KCCA to North Macedonia, then Hearts. The one thing is that every time you've watched Rogers Mato, he's gone up a level. In now, whether it's about his talent or his determination or the character. Most of us who have interacted with him would give him a lot of flowers for his character. He's a boy who, even when he makes a mistake, because his decision-making is very crude, needs a bit of refining. I don't know whether the Scots have the tools to refine that decision-making. But the one thing is that Mato never stops. He's unrelenting. That even if he comes down the wing 2 or 3 times and gives away possession, he's going to come a 4th time. And if you listen to many coaches across the world, and I've had this comment about Vinicius Jr., how he divides opinion and separates those who love him, and those who hate him as much. I've had coaches, especially Carlo Ancelotti, state that when a player plays the way Vinicius Jr. does, they are going to give away possession. I'm not even comparing to Rogers Mato. It would be very silly of me. Yeah, it would even be criminal if their bank account is checked. Yeah, but clearly, that is a better place, for him in terms of development. Because this January there had been a link of Mato moving from North Macedonia to the US. While that would be a step up in terms of level, football-wise, Hearts is a much higher level than playing in Major League Soccer.
Yeah.
Especially when you're in a league where you have to beat Celtic and Rangers to win anything. And currently they are doing that. They are top of the league. Hopefully Rogers Mato will make a contribution. He made his debut at the weekend. Hopefully this is only a start because we all want him to go to the next level. In the end, if these players are playing at a higher level, Uganda Cranes will be better for it. I was at the AFCON, and you sense that with the exception of maybe South Africa and Tanzania, the higher the level your players are, the more likely your team is going to perform well. Just look at Senegal. Yeah, you look at Senegal. Okay, now maybe their players have gone down. Sadio Mane is at Al Nassr. But when they won the AFCON in 2021, there was something that was shared. Kalidou Koulibaly, I think, was at Napoli. Ghana Gueye was at PSG. Mane was at Liverpool. Nicholas Jackson, I think, had just signed for Chelsea. You'd look at the positions and really understand that the level that they are playing, the AFCON is a level that they are clearly better than everyone else. So we need to get players into those leagues.
High levels.
Yeah, so for players like Mato, he's almost become an ambassador. I can imagine if you're having a conversation with a coach and you told him, in our country, there is a left back that you could sign, yeah, or a right back or something. Maybe they'll pay a bit more attention because I've always felt Uganda not having players who are played at that level, no one pays attention.
But it's not easy for them to get noticed. He was noticed because he was in Europe.
He was in Europe, yeah. That's why in the end they have to leave early. People talk about players getting into Europe, and we all have these. If we did a show about why Ugandan players don't make it to the top leagues, for me, one of the extras I will give is that they have to go early.
Yeah.
If they don't go early, we'll never get them there because we do not have a Nwankwo Kanu yet. Because when you have a Nwankwo Kanu or JJ Okocha, who plays at that level, coaches are bound to look at Nigeria. When they Sadio Mane, everyone is bound to look at Senegal. That's how Lamine Camara, the boy who wears shirt number 8 at Monarch and for Senegal, ends up in Europe. So these things have to be very deliberate. That's why sometimes I'll be very disappointed if someone does not treat this with the importance that it deserves. You almost owe it to yourself and your country, as Rogers Mato, to do well or to give it 110%. So that when you leave, everyone knows that you gave it everything, because in there you're representing maybe 10 million other players who would maybe crave at that chance, some even more talented than you are.
Okay, away from Ugandan football now to talk about someone who comes from a small country but has really put his country on the map and has given the game everything. And that is Novak Djokovic. Djokovic, who is 38 years, first of all, he's a very disciplined man. He doesn't even just drink any water. And if you remember, he didn't get the shot, the COVID shot.
He's an anti-vax.
Yes, and he has recently returned from the Australian Open, which we're going to talk about. But I saw someone say that, the Australians have now endeared themselves to him. I was one of those who was, Team Djokovic. I think I always have been. And I was very sad when they didn't allow him an exceptional visa to enter. They said he had told a few lies. But anyway.
And I like from that episode, before you go on into the tennis, and I'm going to allow, I know how much you love your tennis. I remember that story when, because first of all, he said he cannot reveal his medical status. Because Djokovic has never said he didn't take the vaccine.
It's assumed, he didn't, but he did.
But it's his medical records and they are private. And remember in that time, and I traveled to Japan during the time when these COVID certificates were a must. And maybe because I come from a poorer country or background or whatever, I did not care.
You just went for the show.
Yeah, I just went and showed them and maybe because of the privilege and the pride. Because Serbia, you check the population of Serbia as we go on. Serbia is a country and should be about 3.6 million. You'll confirm that. But it's a country of very proud people. Very, very proud. Who believe in their ability in everything they do. That's why for a small country like they produce champions, they produce coaches, they produced almost everything with that small population. Now, the worst part of that is that when Djokovic traveled to Australia back then,
There are now 6.7 million people,
6.7
according to statistics from 2025.
okay, 6.8, that's a very small country.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in terms of achievement, they are way up there. Sometimes I compare them to New Zealand and their dominance of rugby. It's a country of what, 5 million or something
Yeah,
people?
there are more sheep in New Zealand than
Yeah,
people.
and yeah, they should give us the sheep. There are places where we'll do with some mutton. So he arrives in Australia and misses the tournament because he's arrested and jailed at a hotel.
Yes.
And he has to give medical records, and eventually he said he won't compete, so he goes home. What I liked about that episode is that the entire country of Serbia came and backed Djokovic on that.
I think even the Prime Minister.
Including the Prime Minister and the population, everyone. And Serbians went after Australia for these strict, bad anti-vaccine rules at the time. And he missed a chance, perhaps when, with hindsight, the tournament that he's chasing, because he's been trying to win a 25th Grand Slam title. He's won 11 titles in Australia. Had he played back then, because we are talking about the most successful player in the Australian Open, maybe we wouldn't be talking about 25. The 25th Grand Slam title would be already sealed because he hasn't won in some time. So some episodes maybe in life you look back, but you want to get to the real tennis, away from the politics.
He had it a bit easy getting to the final,
Yeah.
almost unbelievable, 2 walkovers. But should he still continue trying? You know, at 38, you could see some pain in him in his post-match analysis. He was gracious, but there was that pain.
Yeah, there's a bit of pain, and one of the things he said, and he said such a humble guy, he actually said there's 2 things that underline his humility. One of the things he said in that interview, and one of the stories I read some time back, he said that all he wanted to do after that final is to go home and get a hug from his family. He's a father of 2 who married his high school sweetheart. But anyway, all these celebrities marry their high school sweetheart. I don't know whether that's actually the truth, but that's what they say. Then there's also a story that I read many years ago. Djokovic, Nadal, and Federer are the only 3 players in tennis, in men's tennis, to have earned $100 million in prize money alone. So in the week when Djokovic got over the barrier of $100 million, he was in London practicing for Wimbledon. He was playing that tournament, I think it's called Eastbourne, the one Queens before they go to Wimbledon. So on one morning, a journalist is jumping onto a train, and Djokovic was also getting onto the train to get across the city to go and train. But this is a guy who that week had hit $100 million in prize money alone. If you look at, and that is tennis, in golf, players who have under 100 million in prize money, because I saw the other week is Scotty Scheffler, the world number 1, crossed that barrier. Rory McIlroy has.
Tiger Woods at some point
did.
Yeah.
But there are not very many, yeah? And of course, the prize money has gone up now than it was.
Yeah.
People are taking lesser tournaments because, for example, Scotty Scheffler has won only 20 PGA titles. Some people needed 27 to get to $100 million in prize money, just to do the math. But that's the kind of humility I wanted to show you with Novak Djokovic. But sometimes when you play sport as long as he has, and earned as much as he has now, and also competed against fellow great players, you'd start to understand that it's not always about you alone, that you've been lucky, that there are players probably who would have had better careers but for injury. Because Djokovic has been very fit for a very long time.
Yeah.
I actually make a comparison that when there's a time when football turning 30 was a retirement sentence. Yeah. But now you turn 30 and players start to get better.
Yeah.
Now, because of LeBron and LeBron James in basketball and Cristiano Ronaldo in football, 40 is no longer scary. And I think Djokovic belongs to that cluster of players with supreme fitness regimes. Yeah, that is 38. What he can do now is maybe choose tournaments.
Yes.
Yeah, because that's what he does. He plays only the Grand Slams and a few warm-ups, ATP Tour tournaments. He doesn't play as many as he used to. And that's understandable. But importantly, I felt in that final, and I'm one of those who was rooting for him, and I've never even been a Djokovic fan. I've always been a Rafael Nadal extremist to every sense of the word. I was hoping that history would judge him better if he gets that 25th. because I've always thought that Djokovic is a clone between Nadal and Federer. He's taken the good attributes of Federer, which is poetry, with that one-handed forehand. It's the one-handed backhand. It's very beautiful to watch. And then the grit and fight of Nadal at the baseline. So I was hoping that if he gets a 25, because tennis has had two fairly extreme camps. Those who love the poetry of Federer and those who love the life lesson of grit, because not all of us are as talented as Federer, who plays it with ease. So many of us wanted to be maybe Nadal because we can relate with his struggle on the court. So Djokovic was caught in the meantime. Now, what he deserves, because he's gone past the two of them and won 24 Grand Slam titles, I felt he has to go and deliver this 25th. Then the appreciation will even be more when he has a bit of the numbers. Then he takes a first set, and I'm jumping out of my...
I know.
He started like a house on fire.
Yeah.
Well rested because he missed a round of 16 walkover, quarterfinal walkover, came through a 5-setter with Yannick Sinner, the world number 2.
Absolutely.
So in that moment, I thought now is locked in. But you knew there was going to be a fight back from Carlos Alcaraz, because Alcaraz is too good to lose a final the manner in which he lost the first set. So when he takes the second, then you start to fear. Then I was watching with a colleague of mine who we share a lot of sporting opinion, Abdul Nasser Semogavi. So I told him that if Djokovic does not win the third set, we can as well take our tea and do other things. And he fought hard in that third, but broken twice eventually by Alcaraz, and that was it. Eventually, there wasn't even a fifth set. So I would think he has to go on. What he has to do, I think to do with nutrition, which he would know better than you and I. He has a management team around him that will choose tournaments wisely. In his situation at 38, he has to give it a shot for another 2 years.
Yeah.
Either in Australia or Wimbledon or US. One of those three will happen. One of those three. But while I say that, I'm the kind of person who held the same kind of hope in Serena Williams when she was stuck on 23, and I wanted her to win that 24th to break even with Margaret Court, the Australian who has actually visited Uganda on one of the churches, I think, hosted her here to do some program for the youth. The Australian Margaret Court, she came here sometime. While I say that, then I look back at Serena, it never happened however hard she tried. But he still get into semifinals and finals. If he gets to a point where he can no longer compete at all with Alcaraz and Sinner, then he should walk away. If not that, I think he should go on. However, you've got to give Alcaraz his flowers. At 22, he has 7 Grand Slam titles.
It was also a record. Whoever won, it would have been a record.
A record of some sort.
Yes.
First of all, he's completed the career Grand Slam.
Yeah.
He's won on all 4 of the 4 majors, the US, the Australian, Wimbledon and the French Open.
Yeah.
He's also the youngest to do so.
Exactly.
To imagine that this guy has done it quicker
at 22
than Federer, than Nadal, than Djokovic, than Andre Agassi, than you could go back in history and pick Bjorn Borg or Jimmy Connors or Johnny McEnroe, all those guys, that he's done it younger than all these guys. That is a huge one. Actually, the next question we should be asking the next 2-3 years is how many Grand Slam titles will Alcaraz win? Because if he already has 7, he has more than the greats had at the same age.
Yeah.
Then he's completed the career Grand Slam. So I was doing a bit of math. In the next 10 years, between 22 and 32, which should be his peak years, there is going to be, that is 4 times 10. That is 40 Grand Slam titles. If Alcaraz wins half or 75%, anywhere above, half, maybe 40%. If he wins 8, half, that's 40. If he wins, let's say 40%, which would be 16. That would be 23 Grand Slam titles. If he won half of those, which would be dominant, to be more dominant than Pete Sampras, than Federer, than Nadal ever were. If he won 20, it would be 27. It's mind-blowing to even think about it, that he has the ability. Now all you have to think about is his body.
You don't see anyone other than Sinner. Do you see anyone being a challenge to him, stopping him along the way?
I need to accuse myself of crime. Yeah, a few years ago, I used to watch what they call the Next Gen series. It happens around towards the end of the year. And I could almost make a ruling. I made a ruling on Yannick Sinner because he's now 24. When I watched him beat his age group when he was 19, the guys with whom we share a lot of tennis opinion, I told them there's an Italian kid. When this kid steps on tour, he's going to blow players off the court. And he's done that fairly. And I could say the same of Alcaraz when we first saw him at 19, because we've now watched him for 4 years since he broke through. I'm guilty for having not watched the Next Gen last year when they congregated. But remember, I promised maybe later this year I would have done some reading and watch some of them. Because I do not see, because there's a generation that, because of the longevity of Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic, that Muluganda, they say, they sat on it. And those guys had the talent, but did not win as much. There's Stanislas Wawrinka, who is retired recently. There's a Guy Monfils. There's Wilfred Songa. There's several of them.
There's the Australian, I've forgotten his name.
Leighton Hewitt?
No, the Australian, Greek, former...
Nick Kyrgios.
Yes.
No, doesn't have the talent. Doesn't have the talent to be at the same level.
But he tried.
Yeah, he tried a bit. Yeah, but there's a generation now. I need to look deeply at the 20-year-olds
and
see which one of them could challenge Alcaraz, because currently it's only Yannick Sinner.
Okay. Now, talking about another big event, since that's what we do here, talk about big events and big names, is the London Marathon. Now, 2026. This is what I read somewhere, that it includes 3 athletes who are sub 2 hours. Okay, 2 hours and I think 3 seconds.
3 seconds,
yes.
Yeah. And so 3 minutes, no. 2:03.
2:03, yes. It's 2:03. And it really promises, that is such an impressive lineup. How excited are you about the London Marathon? And we have a Ugandan there.
Not one, but 2. 2 of Uganda's once in a generation athletes will be competing. But I want to first make this rejoinder. For every Ugandan, you may not be an athletics fanatic like I am, because I've been for quite some time, right from the time when I was watching the Golden League in the late 90s. Just to be live on UTV on Friday. Eventually in the 2000s, brought people like Pamela Jelimo, but I had the chance to watch Marion Jones at the peak of her powers. But that wasn't the era when cable TV was with us, but we had UTV with its Uganda anthem at the start and curtains at the end, and a duty announcer in the middle. Ruth Kalibala actually was a duty announcer at UBC at some point, or at UTV at some point. The people who watched Irene Kulabako. So I've been a fan since then. But most of the things I watched at the time were distant. Now they're a lot closer because we have Ugandans who have excelled and have become so good at it. I would first of all request every Ugandan on April 26th, 2026, wake up early on Sunday, switch on your television, and look for the channel that has London Marathon. You'll enjoy it. While it's a 42-kilometer event that will last 2 hours, I promise you, for only the first 30 minutes will you be bored. Because that's when the athletes are starting and it's packed. But after 30 minutes, when people start to make their moves, the chess game will start. You'll enjoy athletics in a manner you haven't. Now, besides enjoying the race itself, the race will have the Kenyan who won last year, Sebastian Sawe. A brilliant runner, has run a 2:02. That's 2 hours and 2 minutes. But importantly, there is Jacob Kiplimo and Joshua Cheptegei. 2 once-in-a-generation athletes that every country would crave. We are talking about Joshua Cheptegei, an Olympic world champion, but also a double world record holder at 5,000 and 10,000 meters. He will be in that race. He hasn't performed very well in the marathon yet, ever since his transition from the track. So we hope he's going to grow even more, because it goes now for the big ones. London is part of the big ones. London, Berlin, New York, Boston. Those are the ones. Yeah, Tokyo. Those are the ones and Sydney. Those are the ones you want to be part of. Then secondly, there is a once-in-a-generation athlete in Jacob Kiplimo. 3-time world cross-country champion, world junior champion, the youngest Ugandan to go to the Olympics, because he went to Rio when he was 15 or 16 at the time. He won the Chicago Marathon last year in October in the USA. So these are guys who are going to be competing right at the end. I'm actually convinced that barring injury or catastrophe, The winner for the London Marathon is either Sawe or Jacob Kiplimo.
What about the Ethiopian?
With the Ethiopian part of it, yeah? With everyone else, I've chosen those two as the one who will be competing. I'm hoping Gilese. Gilese, I've seen Delat Gilese. In the end, also, I think Joshua Cheptegei may be within the top 5 if he does very well. But this is one of the best fields of marathon running that has ever been assembled. Can you imagine taking Entebbe Road and running from Steers, Debonaires, right at the start of Entebbe Road, at the lights, to Entebbe Airport. And the guys are doing it in 2 hours. Yeah?
Can't imagine.
It's going to be quite a race. You have people who have run sub 203, like you mentioned, and even those who have run sub 204, 205. It's an elite field like no other ever assembled in the history of marathon running.
Okay. Now, 2026 does promise to be an exciting year already with what we have been talking about and what we are reading.
And there's a World Cup.
And there's a World Cup and even Olympics, Winter Olympics.
Yeah.
But now let's talk about Formula One. We saw some cars doing some testing in Barcelona. There are some newbies, Audi. But now, what are your thoughts, your early conclusions from the car testing?
Unfortunately,
there have been some new rules to engine chassis.
There's rules that would bore everyone stiff because Formula One and rules is a bit like reading school rules, because there's a change of engines and all, and a lot of stuff that is going to happen. Unfortunately, one of the things that I did not like, that unlike all the other years, in Barcelona this year, cameras have not been allowed. Because the teams that compete in Formula One have asked for a lot more time for them to be ready, to get their cars ready. And Formula One has decided to accord them that and say, please take your time, work on your car, compete behind closed doors. So that eventually, when the season rolls off later on, I think in March.
In Melbourne.
In Melbourne, everyone will be in sync. So I've read people have made conclusions because we've not had a chance to watch. People have made conclusions about the champions from last year, how they seem like still the fastest team. Red Bull, Max Verstappen will not be very far. But this is the first time in since 2014, when pre-season testing has not been on television, in an era where television sports is looking for traction with the masses. It doesn't sit well with me. It doesn't sit well with me that everything has happened behind closed doors. It's what a decision. What a decision. It sounds a bit like Bernie Ecclestone is still in charge. Yeah. Yet currently isn't. Of course, it's contributed greatly to the development of Formula One. Yeah, but it's a bit unfortunate. But the small ones I've seen are those two. And hopefully that red car with the ranching horse will be much better. The Ferrari will be much better this year. Not only because Hamilton is there, but Ferrari have not been competitive for quite some time.
Yeah. It was a disappointing season for him, I would say, last season.
I don't know how much longer I can go on because we're talking about that bracket of athletes. LeBron James, Cristiano Ronaldo, Novak Djokovic now. He's in the same bracket. And you're bound to take lesser risks. There's something about, there's an analogy about a younger Max Verstappen or younger Formula One driver who is 20 and only has a girlfriend. And then one who is 41 and has children to go to, the decision they'll take on the track will be totally different. Lucky for Lewis Hamilton, he has neither.
Yes, neither.
So he maybe behaves like a 22-year-old. And that would help in terms for us who are looking for the thrill in a Formula One car. Yeah, it's a lot different. There's actually also an analogy in golf that when you're hitting the ball and there's trees here, Tiger Woods will go round because of his age. The younger golfers will try and hit over the trees if the hole is on the other side of it.
Well, talking about being older and making decisions about, about the risk you can take in a game. Tyson Fury is coming back out of retirement. And this is not the first time he's doing it. He announced his retirement, I think, in 2022 or 23. And then he said he was going. And then he came back. And then he said he was going again. And now he wants to come back. He's like an African, isn't it? Like these people who say, you know, I'm going to retire. And then, no, the people still want me back. So is Tyson Fury actually making a mistake by returning to the ring?
In Tyson Fury's situation, he's not an African.
I know, but he's like one.
He is coming out of retirement for the second time. I can almost say that when he retired the second time, I was very sure he would return because he's only 37 now. Previously, he retired because he could not get past that brick wall. That was in 2024 when he fought against Alexander Usyk, the Ukrainian, who has beaten him twice. Then he walked away, then retired a month later, now he's back. And he's going to be fighting. I want to just confirm the date, because he has also retired. Fury has retired in 2022, like you mentioned, after that fight to Dylan White. Then he got back and fought and then retired again. So last December, we saw something when Tyson Fury, when Anthony Joshua actually fought with Jake Paul. And Anthony Joshua, in this post-match fight interview, he said he wants Fury in the ring. And you could almost sense it was not just saying that. It's a message between, I think, the two camps. And that fight maybe now is a build-up to that fight, which will break all kinds of records to have two British boxers in the ring. I think Sky Sports and BBC will go gaga. They'll take off Keir Starmer and play us all these clips of his.
Yeah.
But normally, unlike in other sports, in boxing, retirement and returns are not as bad decisions as they would be. In other sports, it's very easy to say it never works out when you return. In boxing, when you've had a fighter like Bernard Hopkins fight up to his 50, when you've had, some have not turned well, like Manny Pacquiao, even when he goes to Senate, he still thinks he has to come back and fight. I have a feeling that if he chooses his fights smartly, he can win a few and then get into a situation where he can compete again. Because the heavyweight division, besides Usyk, there isn't so many others who have been very dominant. And we're not in the era of the Klitschko brothers or the Tysons in the past or what. So at whatever stage he chooses to come back, it's going to be very, very competitive. And in my situation, sometimes I look at these boxers and I'm, these athletes or sportsmen and women, and I'm thinking, why are you leaving money on the table? Clearly, Fury left money on the table. He's come back for it.
Oh. So, Isma, I don't know if the Arsenal, we have very passionate Arsenal supporters in Uganda. I don't know if they have popped the champagne already, but going by last weekend, they didn't have to do much, and they are now, the gap.
They have games to win.
Yes, but City and Villa kind of handed them something on a silver platter. Not that silver, but so let's start from there. Arsenal against Leeds, they came back with such force. I think they was showing the world that, yes, we lost to
Manchester
United last weekend, but that's not who we are. That was just a glitch.
In the end, to win a league title, you have to be very good, and then the opposition has to be bad.
Yeah.
That's why I think this weekend could be the most consequential.
When they meet Sunderland.
No, this previous weekend.
Oh, the past weekend.
The past weekend could be the most consequential, because Arsenal went into a game. They are not 1 in 3, drawn 2 of those. One of them to Liverpool and lost to
United.
Lost to United and drew with Nottingham Forest. The things that you do when you're going to win a league is that you win, and on the weekends when your opponents do not.
Yeah.
So Arsenal do the right thing. First of all, they get the benefit of playing early. they go and score 4 against it. So they transfer the pressure to the other, to Aston Villa and Man City. But sometimes I don't want to include Aston because I never felt they're in it. And I told you last week, I don't think people should be discussing them as a title challenger. Because the team is not built for that. The team is built to fight for a top 4 position and win a cup competition, the FA Cup or the Europa League. And maybe the Carabao, which they didn't manage to, but they are very good contenders in the Europa League, and they are still fighting for a top 4 position. So, in the end, Arsenal win their game, City draw, and Villa lose. That is what they call a perfect weekend for the Arsenal fan, because then you know that if you do your job in the next game, then you have a very good opportunity to go many more points clear.
Yeah.
If you're like Ismail, who discredits what Villa have been able to achieve or do, then if, for example, Liverpool pick a result against City, and we know Liverpool have it in them, they're having a poor season, but they have it in them to go for that one game against City and get a result, like they did earlier in the season, like they've done to Real Madrid and a few other opponents. If Liverpool get a result there and Arsenal win, there's a possibility of going 9 clear.
Yeah.
So this weekend becomes extremely consequential because it comes on the back of results that did not go Arsenal's way. Then if
that went Arsenal's way.
That went Arsenal's way, but the results before that had not gone Arsenal's way. So, and then there's also the thing about the goals, because we had discussed how they struggle to score. There's a spell where they've gone through needing own goals and all these kind of things. Eventually, they go and score 4 against Leeds, which is a very huge result. You get your number 9 back among the goals, Victor Gyökeres, even if he has been a letdown, not only in terms of numbers, but even his movement, his fast touch. There's so many things about him that almost show him in the light of a 20-year-old, or a 19-year-old who is still developing. We're talking about a player who is 27. So clearly, he's gone through the layers of development, and there's very limited chance that he'll get better than he actually is. But he needs the numbers. He got his 6th. You got Zubimendi back among his scores. Because one of the things I thought that while everyone is talking about Arsenal do not score enough, they need everyone to chip in. And Zubimendi and Declan Rice, I thought, have chipped in a lot more than, for example, than Martin Odegaard. Then they suffer an injury to Bukayo Saka very early in the game, bringing Noni Madueke. And he has quite a fairly good display. Sets up one of the goals. One he actually scored, one that is handed to the goalkeeper, Carl Dallo, as an own goal. Take your pick. Premier League now says Madueke's goal. So there's a lot of good things that happen for the Arsenal that they can carry into the next phase. The next phase of games, because now they've come out of not a very good January, but not as bad. It could have been worse,
definitely,
than it eventually turned out. So you're going to February, 6 points ahead with what? There's now 25 games played, so there's 13 to go.
Yeah.
Not even Arsenal can bottle this. Okay, Liverpool have bottled the most number of league titles when they've been leading at Christmas or leading in February. Yeah. If you go back to 1992, Liverpool have bottled more league titles than any other team in the league. If you consider top at Christmas, then a collapse. Surely, not even Arsenal that have bottled a few in the last few years could throw this away. You also have to consider the fact that Man City are not as good.
What's happening? How could they give away a 2-goal lead to Tottenham? And yet Tottenham, where they are, yes, they did some great stuff in Europe last week, but where they are, Tottenham.
Tottenham show up for the Man City game.
Yeah, actually,
I think one day.
I saw a statistic, that Pep Guardiola has not lost to any team as much as Tottenham.
As Tottenham, in his time in England. And that time as well had Jurgen Klopp, who was Pep Guardiola's number in terms of in terms of the head-to-head. No team shows up for Man City games like Tottenham. That is one way to look at it. Secondly, I think City went a wall in the second half. They were just not there. When they took a 2-0 lead, they concentrated on managing the game than getting a third. But I'm also not one of those who is shocked that City are not playing well this season. I think they're under that transition. For a very long time, City had a very good team.
Yeah. De Bruyne,
of course, Bernardo Silva at the peak of his powers, Ederson and all these other guys. Rodrigo before that knee surgery that he's had. Vicente Kompany, and all the others who have been there. Now, the team is clearly replenishing. It's a bit like a snake. They've had to shed skin,
yeah.
and now they have to create. Not that these players are not good. The Ranchaka is actually very good players. Tijani Riders, all these guys are good players, but they have not been in a situation where they are the team to beat. Yeah? So that has to come over time. So they have to build it again. And I'm one of those who think that the transition had actually started by last season. There's a group of friends of mine where we chat from 6 a.m. to 5:59 a.m. the next day and night. It's called Sona. Brandon used to be our coach. That I've come to say certain things, sometimes jokingly, but I've never envisioned a team that can lose to Bernardo Silva anymore. And it's not even to demean him. Very good player, technically gifted, but no longer has the legs. Doesn't have the lungs anymore. So last season, there's times when I used to watch them, for example, and I see De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva, and I'm like, you have to be so poor to lose to this Man City. Now, when I was watching Tottenham this time, I was thinking, Bernardo Silva now plays at the center line, no longer at the peak of his powers. I've not seen a player in the last few years find the gap between the fullback and the centre back, between the left back and the left-sided centre back more often than Bernardo Silva. Play that pass, bombard, and get to the final third more often than he does. Now, because he doesn't have the legs, and I'm not even picking on him, it's just for me, it's a representation of a city in transition, that they need to shed some skin, like they did with De Bruyne, with Bernardo Silva, and allow these guys to go into those roles, the Cherkis, the Riders, Doku, Antoine Semenyo, and all the others, to get into a situation where they feel they are the ones who are option A, among the objectives of City. They have to be option A. Now, that does not happen. Even for a great coach like Pep Guardiola, it does not just happen. You don't flip a switch, at home. You have to build it over time, and that is going to take time. So I'm not one of those who is shocked that they are not competing. They are not. They are not yet at that level. But in the end, Tottenham, you've got to give them flowers for that second half, including a legitimate scorpion kick, because there's a time when there were those two scorpion kicks, one by Olivier Giroud and the other by Henrik Mkhitaryan, before VAR. But if you look back, Mkhitaryan was offside. Yeah, if you're able in this VAR era, he was offside, but wasn't given at the time. So in the end, Tottenham get a result. Thomas Frank gets to live to die another day, because I think he's on the brink of losing. He's on the
brink.
They've lost too many games, especially at home. There's a lot of negative
energy.
They
boo him as he goes onto the gets onto the pitch.
They boo the owners, they boo the management of the club. There's so many things they do not agree with, and most of it legitimate. Because
it was a top flight club.
It is a top flight club, and now they have a lot of injuries too, and that is not helping, but they got a good result.
Talking about top flight, who else do you see joining that pack of three? Because there's a bit of a fight there for the top fourth finish. Manchester United, I loved that game against
Fulham. Enjoyable.
Fulham. Yes.
Very enjoyable.
Yes.
An enjoyable watch. Eventually United get the result because of Benjamin Sesko. Top four. Will Aston Villa be there? Why do they feel like they're still calling? Maybe there could be two places. Maybe I'm just a hater. But in the end, if let's say there is one team, from what we see currently, it would take a miracle of biblical proportions or Quranic proportions for Liverpool to move ahead of United and Chelsea. United have the momentum. They have that good feel factor.
Oh my goodness.
That feel good factor.
Michael Carrick now.
Yeah, he's brought it back that everyone now feels. United fans now do not want their team to spend a week without playing. Unfortunately, they do not belong to the band of teams that play in midweek in the Champions League and the FA Cup and all those kind of things. Momentum is with United. The feel good factor is with United. Liam Rosinia has got some results that show that he's actually going to be a very good coach ever since he came in from Strasbourg. That result against Napoli in the Champions League, and then to come from 2-0 down against West Ham and win 3-2. However, in the latter game, I felt that was down to the kind of starting team he picked. Because the moment he tweaked it around and put Kukureya and made the team more stable, They were on the front foot, and eventually Enzo Fernandez got them the winner in added time. So currently, Liverpool is the disadvantaged of the three teams on who gets into the top four. Because United, like I say, have momentum. Chelsea, there's been results in there that point to Liam Rosinia being able to deliver. However, my challenges with Chelsea is that their defenders one-on-one are terrible, especially their centered, whoever they choose at centre-back. Even the one that I think is better than all the others in Wesley Fofana did not look very good in the game against Napoli. Then I failed to find any kind of ratings for Joshua Chiapong, Benoit Badiashile. I watch them and I can't make an opinion of what exactly they are good at or what they are not good at. So that centre-back pairing is a bit of a soft spot for them. And then their lack of a goalkeeper. The two of them, Jorgensen and Roberto Sanchez, no. There's a bit of a challenge in that area. But clearly, what they're doing right now is better than what Liverpool, for example, have been able to do. So currently looks a bit like it's United. Because they have 7 games. 7 games. Who could have said that just 3 weeks ago? Because if you give Ruben Amorim the previous 3 games that United have played,
you didn't last week. You said no, it's not up to him.
Yeah, they wouldn't win. I think the 3 games that United have won, the one against Man City, Arsenal, and Fulham, if Ruben Amorim is in charge, they don't win them. Now Michael Carrick comes in, the feel-good factor is here, the basics are good, the players are getting in good positions, everyone seems to be enjoying, they are creating chances, they are burying them. Benjamin Sesko comes off the bench and buries his chance. It looks like United, and that would mean maybe winning 10 or 11 of the remaining 13 league games. Can they do that? Perhaps they can. Someone needs to go through their fixture list. Their next game is against Tottenham. Yeah? Away from home at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. If they win that and they've won 4 in a row, they win a 5th in a row, someone gets to cut off their hair. That gentleman who said he won't cut his hair until United win 5 in a row. I've seen his pictures being shared. Someone cuts their hair, United cement their place in the top 4.
You singled out some players, but I haven't had you talk about Ekitike in Liverpool. Do you not think that he has it in him to propel the team a bit forward? Because what he has been able to achieve in this short time is,
he scored
amazing.
10 goals in the league,
Yeah.
and I think 15 for the entire season. I still insist he should have had a hat-trick against Newcastle. They should have left him on the pitch and tried to get him into that.
And they wanted him, but they didn't get him.
They didn't get him because they had tried to sign him, I think, for 2 years, for 2 windows, and that didn't work out.
They didn't try hard enough, you think, or Liverpool had
sometimes,
more money?
Sometimes you don't get who you want because Liverpool have wanted Maguire. They even did a medical and didn't get him. Liverpool wanted Semenyo, dragged their feet, City got him. It happens somehow. Players are a bit like that. Liverpool, in a season that has been so bad, they found something to be positive about. Yeah, in Ekitike, not only because he changes hairstyles every week, but because of the number of goals, and some of the goals are quality.
Yeah.
Because I thought that second goal was brilliant. That second goal against Newcastle, the one that he scored, and I saw Ancelotti reference someone who not many of the people who are watching TV could know, because Ancelotti said the goal reminded him of Romario. You might know Romario, but you may not have watched and known his abilities.
No.
But that outside of the foot toe poke, when Romario is coming in from a tight angle, that's how he played the ball. That was his signature finish. So Ancelotti picks on that. And I've seen all legends giving flowers. And Liverpool has had some great strikers. John Aldridge, Ian Rush, Michael Owen, Robbie Fowler. Mohamed Salah today would fit into what is a striker. Fernando Torres, they've had a number of them. And he has better numbers than some of them at the start of their careers in a Liverpool jersey. And not only the goals, one of the things that stands out from Ekitike is that he's also showing ability to play with the team because he drops the center line and plays the pass, then drops off the left wing, and he's created a bit of fluidity, which Ancelotti has struggled with a lot. The games where you've had Cody Gakpo stuck on the left side, Liverpool create nothing. Now, when Ekitike drifts and moves to the left and allows Cody Gakpo to go into the center, which also gets Florian Wirtz into that old number 10 role, the Felipe Coutinho kind of role, the team look much better the way Bruno Fernandes is playing. the team are actually benefiting from it. Everyone now, Viat gets to score, gets into good positions too. Ekitike gets to score. And even Cody Gakpo, who has been heavily criticized this one by many Liverpool fans, may not look as bad because of one player. And that's a one thing that one player can do. And the effect on Ekitike on his teammates, I think, is very visible. Everyone is getting more out of Florian Wirtz than all the others did. And maybe Ancelotti was committing a mistake because earlier on, he was playing Florian Wirtz down the left wing and it never worked at all and did look comfortable. It does not have the pace. It does not have the energy to run back and forth because a bit like an old school number 10. Now, when you unlock Ekitike and play him, you allow all the other players enjoy the game a bit more. And it's showing not only in his goals, because it's very easy these days. People interpret the game with numbers. Everyone will say, hey, he's a good player because he scored 15. But sometimes, and I've seen players, and I always, when I want to play down numbers, I go extreme. One of the strikers with the biggest numbers in the history of football is Gonzalo Higuain. He has, I think, 335 goals for his career. Brilliant numbers. But I don't know how many of us can remember of those goals, which ones were significant or changed the trajectory of a team.
Okay.
I support Argentina. I cannot remember Higuain for missing our chance to win the World Cup in 2014. The one-on-one. Yeah, and that is sometimes when I see people throw numbers, yes, these, and I'm thinking, come on. There are players who have, for example, better assists than others. John Terry, for example, has more career goals in his time at Chelsea than Iniesta had at Barcelona during the same time. But does that make John Terry a better attacking player than Iniesta? No, it doesn't. Alexander Hleb at Arsenal always played that pass in the channel for the fullback to cross. He doesn't have the assists. Don't you think Alexander Hleb was doing something that put teams on the back foot? So sometimes people will mention Ekitike and only say 10 goals, 15, what. But it's about the general contribution, how good he makes the team play when he's on the pitch, than whether he scored 22 like Mbappe, because Mbappe has 22 goals in the league. Haaland has 20. Yeah, and they are probably part of better setups and Liverpool are struggling. But you see a player who Liverpool can build the attacking line in the next few years because of what he's able to do even when he's not scoring.
So, and as we conclude, Isma, they play City this weekend.
Yeah.
Whom do you give it to?
Liverpool will show up for that one. They always show up for the big ones, even when they were never competing for the league title. Between 1992 and you could say 2007, they were never in a title race. They were hardly in a title race. Of course, they were in some of them, but never converted. They show up for the big ones. That Danny Murphy penalty for a certain generation against United never dies because he used to get that. Those Michael Owen goals against Arsenal or Robbie Fowler. This could be the weekend. This week could be the one when Liverpool end Man City's interest in the title.
Wow.
If Liverpool get the result, and I think they'll go out and compete, it's a good time actually to play City. They are going to start being unsure. The confidence may not be there.
Yeah.
They have rejigged their back line. Of course, Matthias Nunes, who plays at right back, is not a natural there. I saw Pep Guardiola gamble at the weekend. He had Nori supporting O'Reilly. Yeah, Nori was supposed to be the left back, the Algerian, but was playing ahead of O'Reilly. So they had two left backs almost double teaming on this side. Then you have Mark Guehi, who is playing with Kusanov. Guehi, of course, is the better player. Then the things I mentioned about Bernardo Silva, Liverpool have to run Bernardo Silva down, rugged, because it doesn't have the legs, it doesn't have the lungs anymore. You've got to go at that. Then right now, even for the best players in the world, there is nothing that you can substitute for confidence. Because the goals are gone for Haaland, now even he is a bit uncertain. I saw situations against Spurs where he's second guessing. Is he going to shoot or play the pass or play in a teammate or hold up the ball? Now you've got to capitalize in that moment. Unfortunately, is that Liverpool too do not have the extreme confidence. So it's a bit of a slugfest of two fading boxers. Yeah, everyone is going to throw a punch, and once it lands, you're thinking, oh, is it that weak? Then if you get a counter punch, then you're thinking the same way. So it's a slugfest between two heavyweight boxers who are not in their best days. That's why I think Liverpool have an opportunity to get a result.
Okay, that will be Liverpool and Manchester City this weekend. It promises to be a great weekend. And if you're looking for a place to watch that game, to come, leave the city and relax, this place, Grey Residences, here in Kira, all along Mamerito Road. Beautiful, large screen, beautiful place. It's quiet. Kitchen, Wi-Fi. If you don't have a Wi-Fi or internet on your phone, do come and check this place out. Otherwise, this is Second Take with IDK. Share, like, comment. We love to hear those comments coming in. I saw a comment about, we haven't had the chance to talk about the ladies in tennis, but Rubakina and Sabalenka, someone was mentioning them. I can't quite remember what the comment is, but we love to hear from you. So, Isma, as we sign out.
Yeah, there's someone who made a comment about our studios, our set last time. They didn't like the lighting because there was sun and then shade.
Yeah.
And yeah, but I hope this is a better set, better lighting than last time. But the locations will differ for some time. We'll keep changing, and that's one thing we need to solve over time. But the most important thing, subscribe. When you subscribe,
yes,
the set will be better. I like when people comment because
yes,
eventually there's a friend of mine, and to call him a friend is an understatement. There's a brother of mine, my roommate in Micho many years ago, Micho in Makerere University, Davis Imbuga. He wants me to invite him to the show. But that would be what? Inbreeding. Because I know a lot of what he thinks, and he knows a lot of what I think, even opinions beyond the camera. So I thought that would be a bit of inbreeding, but want to invite some of our viewers over time.
Yeah.
When you make a comment, when you feel like you can come and make a contribution, because there's people out there who say, what does Ismail think? Where is Ismail? Does he have any show? So the opportunity is going to come where you have to come, sit there next to Mabel, who is dressed in Valentine's colors, and ask me the questions. And hopefully I'll answer without bias. The other day I was at KFM, and I do a show every Saturday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And one of the callers called in and said, Ugandan talent has gone down because Magogo is FIFA president. The players do not play well, so Magogo should leave. Then, and I was really bemused because I personally believe individual talent globally has gone down. Yeah, this era does not have a Maradona because the game has a lot more structure. And the difference between losing and winning is so huge. Let me give you just a number. I was at the Australian Open. I got to learn that the players who get knocked out in the first round earn $100,000. The one who wins the championship, Alcaraz, earns $2.79 million. The difference between winning and losing is so big. Now, I need to check whether that was the same in ATF. Of course, it wasn't. So the game has become a lot more structured. That's why I actually, in response, I told that person that, you see, while you might blame the FA and they are very cross to carry, they can do much better. I believe they can do much better. But have you ever imagined that our generation does not have Albert Einstein? Neither does our generation have Michael Faraday. We are all benefiting from the things that were done by...
We had a Steve Jobs.
That is once in a generation person, yeah? But our generation does not have many of those. The generation that had Michael Faraday is the same generation that had Albert Einstein of E is equal to MC squared, which is the basis of all energy and equations around energy and all these developments in physics. So it cannot be that whoever is FA president, okay, they can affect the talent. But globally, talent has gone down in everything.
Yes, indeed. Those are some of the bold opinions and bold conclusion from Isma. Less talent this generation. I'm sure that will bring a lot of, it will enlist a lot of reaction online. I was about to say maybe it's because of all the social media we have. We're not thinking as much as we should. We now have AI, ChatGPT. It does so much for us.
Well, but we used to cram the multiplication table.
I know.
Should my children do the same? No.
Well, this is Second Take with IDK, Isma Dhakaba Kigongo, and he does know a thing or two about sport. And we are here at the lovely Grey Residences on Mamerito Road in Chira, the eastern part of Kampala. We'll see you next time.
Are you tired of the daily hustle and bustle? the endless traffic just to get your little one to a good school? GMS Bingo offers a unique blend of academic excellence with a holistic child development in both nursery and primary. We provide a national curriculum with an international touch. Enroll your child today by visiting our campus along Trinity College Nabigo Road. GMS Bingo, where every child's potential is a reality. Because we care.